Well, my name's Rob Webb, and I'm a professional photographer. I'm a freelance portrait photographer, travel the country photographing various people, different situations. Well, I started off as an amateur landscape photographer, and then slowly over time started photographing more things, specifically people, and I've really fell in love with photographing people. There's something about photographing a person that really has a lot of, I guess, texture, not just physically, but also emotionally. You find all these wonderful things about them just through seeing them through the lens of a camera. I think it's very important that the students know that there are options in the art world that pertain to photography specifically. I enjoy helping students find their way to things that interest them, that help them become better people, and not only in the community, but just for themselves to see something in themselves that they didn't recognize before. I hope it opens up some doors for them, or just even opens up their mind a little bit so that they go, oh, well, photography is just not taking out my phone and photographing something just because I see it. But it's a thought out process of composing, thought out of color and light, just things they would not normally think about. A lot of critical thinking skills come into play when you're trying to make a very good piece of artwork. Well, I can tell you from my experience as a self-taught, 100% self-taught photographer, that I guess it's a perk, because I dove in the deep end and I started to swim on my own. It was a long, arduous process of trying to figure out how to operate machinery, how to pose people, how to make the light look right. There was a learning curve there, and I had to overcome that learning curve. But at the same time, I was gaining lots of experience. But there are, institutes out there that provide and offer classes to, ease that learning curve and help you develop the skills faster or in a different way. So it just really, I guess, whatever works for you, whatever you find your interest and where it leads you, that's okay. Because if you're focused enough and you have enough determination, you're going to get there regardless if it's a formal education or if it's you just walking the streets trying to photograph every single thing that comes into your view. You can't ever get to the point where you feel like you are the ultimate master of this craft. There's always something to learn, always something to improve upon. That strive for excellence is never ending. And I think if you are okay with that and you accept it, then you really are in the real career that you should be in. I wake up every day in love with what I do. And even during the hardest moments, I still would not give it up. So never stop being a student.
All right, what is your professional title?
My professional title is Mr. Robert Webb. Rob Webb. I go by Rob Webb in the photography industry, but you can say I'm a photographer. I'm a portrait photographer, very specifically. I photograph dance. But yeah, as far as being my professional, title, yeah, photographer extraordinaire. You know how to spell extraordinaire? I don't either. Just give it a try. Yeah, extraordinaire.
So what makes you different from the rest of from a photographer?
Oh, okay.
What's the difference between a portrait photographer and then just a regular photographer?
So that's going to be really cool. That's part of my presentation today, which will be awesome. I'll go into a lot more detail on that. But a portrait photographer is exactly what it sounds like. I take portraits. I take people, and I put them in front of my camera, and I push the button, and hopefully I'll get a good picture. And then they use that picture to put on there to give to their grandma during Christmas, or to put on their wall at home so they can sit there and just look at it all day. But there's many reasons why people get portrait photography, and that's what I do.
What steps did you take to get here? Are you self-taught? Did you go to a technical school? Did you apprenticeship with someone, or did you go to college for photography?
So I'm 100% self-taught, 100%. I'm the kind of person that I feel like if I want to learn something, I can go out and find the information on it and learn it. And photography is one of those things that I had to do. I had to do that very thing. I had to go out and research, and I'm constantly researching. I mean, right now I make money in photography, but I'm still researching information, researching how photography is done. So.
So, I mean, how did you start? What were the steps that you took, like, from beginning to now?
From beginning to now. So I started off as an amateur landscape photographer. So I became familiar with the camera. The camera I had, the very first camera I had, was a crop censored DSLR, which stands for digital single lens reflex. I think, if I'm not mistaken, is that right? That guy back there, he's the camera guy. He's also into cameras as well. But anyway, so I had a really cheap camera, $300 maybe at the most. And I would go out and I'd photograph all these landscapes. My wife and I would travel across the country, and we would stop the car every 5 minutes, and I would get my tripod out, put my camera on the tripod, and try to take a picture of what I saw. And man, was I bad at it. I was awful. And I look back at some of my stuff now, I'm like, oh, that's crazy. And then slowly, I started doing more and more research, and I started doing better landscapes. And so in 2019, I entered an amateur photography competition right here in Lincoln County. And you guys are actually, if anybody here wants to do photography, I highly recommend that you go and you try it, okay? Because I think for students, I don't think there's a cost. I think it might be free for students. But anyway, that show, I entered 3 pieces almost for every category. Landscape, portrait, still life. I mean, I just went all in. If I was gonna do this, I was gonna do it with everything I had. And then I came out with 3 first place, 2nd place, and a best in show. And the funny thing about it all is the best in show that I got, which means the best, piece of art that was there, it was photographed on the cheapest piece of equipment that I had. And it was at that moment where I realized, like, hey, I think I could do this for a living. I think I could go out and photograph people and make it look professional. And so I taught to a friend of mine. Her name's Melanie Dawn Adams, and she's a resident here in Lincoln County as well. And she is a professional photographer. She also taught at Gaston Community College. She taught photography there. She said to me, hey, Rob, go for it. What's there to lose? And so I did. I decided to dive in. I decided to invest in some more equipment. And next thing you know, the ball was rolling, and I was just snapping pictures left and right of anybody and everybody. I photographed everything under the sun. If someone said, hey, can you photograph my baby? Yes, I can. I had no idea how to photograph babies. I did it, didn't like it because it wasn't my cup of tea, and so now I don't do that anymore, but I tried it. Someone said, hey, can you photograph my son and I at a football senior night? Sure, why not? And I did it. And then that turned out okay, it wasn't too bad. And I kept doing that over and over every time they asked me to do it. I photographed products. I photographed people's fashion lines. I've done ads. I've done book covers. So there's a lot of things out there, and we'll talk more about that in the presentation here in a moment. But that's where it leads me. I finalized what it is that I like the most. And what I like the most is dance photography. You're not going to see any of that today because I didn't know if you guys would be that much interested in dance photography, but that's what I do a lot of.
What does your day-to-day look like being a photographer?
During this time of the year, it's not too bad. I like to kind of take it slow. I don't really get into a lot of projects this time of the year. All photographers kind of need a little bit of a break. We do burn out from time to time. So this time of the year, it's pretty much like wake up and just go have a normal life. But around March is when it really picks up for me because then prom season hits, wedding season hits. People want to be outside more. Mother's Day is happening. So there's lots of stuff that's happening. So usually those days it's wake up, I'll probably go exercise and then come home, take my dog out our dog out for a walk. And then I'll sit down on the computer, check my emails, look on my website, see if anybody has booked any new slots or has sent any questions or whatever. I'll go through, answer some emails, answer texts, Instagram messages, Facebook messages. So there's a lot of messaging going on. And once I kind of do that, then I'll probably pull up any projects that I'm working on, any editing that needs to be done for a while. Then I'll go on, have my lunch, and about right then, about 1 o'clock, that's when I start doing any type of shoots if I have to. I tried my best not to photograph in the middle of the day. it's not typically your best time of the day to do shoots. So anything that's getting closer to golden hour, which is like the hour before sunset, those are typically the best type of days for people like me. I'm an outdoor photographer as well, but I do indoor shoots as well. So my light control there, I can shoot any time of the day if I really want to, but I don't like indoor shooting. I think it's very boring. But anyway, so my day to day, and then I'll do my shoot, I'll come home, download all the images onto my computer, which sometimes takes forever because maybe I'll take 3,000 images of one person for a whole hour, and then I'm waiting for that to get into my computer. Once it's into my computer, then I cull the images. Anybody know what culling means? Anyone? No? Okay. Culling means I go through all those images looking to see which ones are the good ones. Okay, so I want you to imagine, I took 3,000 images. How long would it be if I spent a second on each image? Almost an hour. It would take me almost an hour to go through every single image. But I have to go faster now because I can't do that in a whole hour. So I've learned my culling technique is literally click, 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 save, click, 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 save, click, 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 click. Like you've developed an eye to really pick out the images that stand out, that are composed well, that's lit well, where the person, if you're photographing a person, is all set up properly, looking at the right direction, lit properly, not make sure they don't have a booger on their nose or something. And so once that's over, then I start editing, have a little dinner with my wife, and then bedtime. That's my day as a photographer. You guys want to know what I eat? Are you curious?
All right, tell us why your
Egg
work
rolls.
is essential.
What'd you say? What'd you say?
Tell us why your work is essential.
Oh my gosh, why is my work essential? Okay, well, I mean, I'm not as essential as maybe like a firefighter or a paramedic or a doctor, but I feel like in my field, if I had to say it was essential, I would say it's to help people preserve memories, to record and document things that have happened in the past, okay? It's fleeting. Everything that we do goes by so quickly, and our memories are not the best things in the world. You can say, yeah, I remember what I did blah, 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 blah days ago, but when you get to about our age, I'm 46 years old, by the way. When you get to my age, I can't even remember what color socks I'm wearing this morning, okay? I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, okay? So those photographs, they become valuable. I mean, I remember one time listening to the story of this mother, and she said, or not a story, but it's just a situation. And she said, hey, if the house burns down, first thing you do is grab the photo album. Don't you want to grab the kid first, right? Grab that baby out of that crib. Take him with you. No, she wanted that photo album. Why did she want that photo album? Yeah, it's a historic record of their family, okay? There's photos in there that go way back. Some of them, like, you know, as far as you want to go. Anyway, so that's why it's essential.
What advice would you give us if we wanted to enter your field?
Start off cheap. Don't be afraid to start off cheap. There's nothing wrong with starting off cheap. Don't think you have to have the most expensive stuff in the world to do your job. Like I said, I got best in show at a competition on the cheapest camera that was available. Okay, a lot of people throw their money in. No, you need to throw, what you really need to be focused on is your knowledge of how to use your equipment that you have. You'll be surprised how far you can go.
All right, thank you, Mr. Webb. That is all the questions that we have for you today. If now this is the time for students. If you guys want to ask Mr. Webb a few questions, we have about 5 minutes. So does anybody have a question?
What's up?
Out of like 3,000 photos, how many did get saved?
How many out of 3,000 get saved? Typically around 300 to 400 get saved, and then of those 300 to 400, about 15 are probably like worthy of me wanting to keep forever. Only because I'm very picky on what I let go out there in the real world, because I'm an artist and my work reflects my quality as an artist. So if I'm 100% like, oh, this is not perfect, I'm typically not going to recommend to take that image. But it's not up to me, it's up to my clients usually. They'll pick their own images. That's a great question. Thanks. No one has ever asked me that. What's your name?
Leia.
I'm gonna call you Leia the first of asking that question.
Any more questions? This is the only time you'll have the opportunity to be with Mr. Webb in person. So do we have any more questions?
Yeah.
Have you tried to do like any like wildlife photography, like animals?
Oh yeah, so I've done wildlife. One time we were in Nevada and we were driving along and I saw these pronghorn. You guys know what pronghorns are? So there's like these deer-like creatures. They have horns like this and they're hooks at the end, okay? They're the fastest land animal in North America. Anyway, we pull over, we're thinking, hey, I'm going to go photograph this pronghorn. And so I start walking up the hill. I don't see the pronghorn. And then I get closer and closer. And all of a sudden, so I'm about halfway between my car and the pronghorn now. All right, and it's a good walk. It's like from here to like the other side of that building, right? And then all of a sudden I see the pronghorn start doing this and looking at me, staring me dead in my eye. Remember, they're the fastest land animal in North America. That's the day I stopped being a wildlife photographer. But yes, I photographed a few things. Not my favorite thing to do, but those who do it are really amazing.
All right, great. So you have a presentation for us.
I do.
And so this might spark some more questions.
Okay.
So we'll go ahead and move on to the demonstration and then our sketchbook.
Sounds great. Okay, so on the table right here, I brought in just a small bit of my equipment, some of my professional stuff. This right here is a mirrorless camera. It's Nikon. It's a professional grade camera. It's the workhorse of what I do. Down here are a couple of lenses used for different situations. This right here, this is the beefiest one I have. It's not actually the best one I have. A lot of people think, oh, it's a huge lens, so it's got to be the best lens, which is not true. The best lens, absolutely, is this bad boy right here. This is my favorite lens right here, okay? I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on what these lenses physically do, but they all do have different functions and allow me to capture people in different ways. This right here is called a speed light. It's a little flash that goes on top of your camera. I can actually use it off the camera as well because it communicates with each other. This right here is a trigger. This bad boy goes in my camera if I want to use these lights right here. Okay, so sometimes if the lighting is not ideal and I'm not getting the look I really want, I can break out one of these bad boys and it can throw light on people and then it makes the image look a little better. This right here is my trusty carrying case, which I carry all this gear in. Okay, camera bag is essential for me. This is a reflector. This reflector actually has, believe it or not, 5 sides. Okay, it's got a gold side, a white side. You flip it inside out. It's got a silver side and a black side, and then the very middle of it is actually a scrim, which blocks the light, actually filters it a little bit. Okay, so I use these some of these tools. These are basic tools. Honestly, though, you only need one camera, one lens. Actually, to be even more honest, this is really all you need. You could actually make good pictures with this thing in your pocket. I've done that before when my camera started malfunctioning. I had pulled out my phone and set it to the manual setting and did most of the shoots I had to do. Luckily, half the shoot was already done on my camera, so that's a little bit better. Now, don't get me wrong, the quality of this camera is better. It does shoot in RAW format, which gives me more data, but when in a pinch, I can grab this and use it. The iPhone 13, I think, is 13 Pro. I don't have that. I have a Samsung, but the iPhone 13 Pro is professional level. You could, if you had to, photograph an entire wedding on that phone, which is really amazing. Just a lot of people don't take you seriously when you have a phone in your hand taking weddings. You know what I'm saying? So, all right, cool. Any questions about the equipment? Like I said, this is just, yes.
Why does it have a black side though?
So that's a really great point. Okay. So if you guys know anything about white objects, when light goes and hits that wall right there, what happens to it? Yeah, it bounces back, right? A little bit of the light gets absorbed, but most of it bounces back, like 90-something%, right? But then we got, what's your name? Gunner. We got Gunner over here. He's got a black hoodie on. What happens when the light hits Gunner? It absorbs it, so it doesn't get reflected back. So if I was to stand next to this wall, then this side of my face will get lit up better. But if Gunner was beside me, well, I wouldn't get lit up as much. Does that make sense? Okay, all right, awesome, good question. Any other questions about the equipment? None? Rock and roll. All right, so let's talk about this presentation real quick. Photography, 1826, that's when the first photograph was created in France, all the way to now, okay? I'd like to thank the Blue House Studio for the opportunity to be able to do this presentation. You guys, please make sure you're following them on Instagram, Facebook, all the good job. There's another, if you guys can't see up there, there's also one over there on that side. All right, so did you know that any given second on this planet, 54,400 pictures are taken at that 1 second. So here's what I'm gonna do, watch this. I'm going to turn my phone on, and I'm gonna put it on 0.5. Boom, everybody throw me some peace signs. I'm gonna take a picture. Ready, 1, 2, 3, boom. Okay, for the briefest moment, I had the youngest photograph in my possession. But that's over now, isn't it? I think 3 seconds have gone by. In an hour, 196 million photographs will be taken. By the end of this year, 1.72 trillion. Okay? So you have to imagine, man, people are photographing all the time. And you guys know that. You live in this age where you have the phone in your pocket, you're Instagramming, you're Facebooking, you're TikToking, okay? The world's first photograph was photographed in this location right here. Do not ask me to pronounce it. It's called a heliograph, okay? You can barely tell what it is, but it's a rooftop of a house, okay? Now I want you kind of imagine. What's your name?
Zach.
What are you?
Zach.
Zach? Zach, do you ever take a picture with your phone?
Yep.
How long does it take you to do that?
Half a second.
Half a second. You know how long it took to make that picture? They had to get out of this silver piece of plated thing. They had to put chemicals on it. They had to let it dry. Then they had to position it and then expose it real quick and then close it and then take it back. And then they had to wash it and then treat it with chemicals. And then they had to wait for that to dry. And then they got the photo. We're talking about hours. But now we take it for granted, right? Phone's out, click, click, boom, shot. Okay. So this one thing, the people that made up the process of making a photograph, they achieved something very amazing. I want you guys to think about this. The way photographs are made, the sun creates light. That light travels 92 million miles through empty space just to bounce off someone and then into your camera's sensor. The sun is your greatest resource in photography. Without it, we would not have this. Some dude or woman, I don't know, somebody realized they could capture the rays of the sun on a structure. And because of them, we now have what we have. We have Instagram. We have TikTok.
Robert, just a time check, we got about 6 more minutes.
Yeah, we're good. All right. So the first human to ever be photographed right there. Can you see that arrow right there? That has what?
The shoe shiner.
The shoe shiner. You've heard of this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good, good. This is amazing. We'll never know who that person is or those two people because there's two people there. Right? We'll never know who that is, but that's a pretty cool idea. All right, types of photography. Listen, I cannot list them all. I only put down 8. I could go on forever. We got the natural world. We got people and portraits, artistic photography, documentary, cityscapes and structures, commercial, lifestyle, which is life's everyday little moments, and photojournalism. Okay. So let's talk about a couple of these. Natural world, macro, landscapes, astro, weather, wildlife, botanical. Anything you find in the natural world, that's what it is. Some of you guys already learned about natural numbers, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'd include that. That's only because I'm a math geek. Cityscapes and structures. Guys, cities alone, by themselves, provide endless, uncountable opportunities to create photography, create art. Okay, drone photography now is one of the most upcoming types of photography out there. I've considered getting one myself, but I don't know. I like having something in my hand. Maybe one day, who knows? Okay. This is what I mainly focus in on. A couple of these are my shots. All these images you see are just images of other photographer stuff, but a few of these are mine. Here we got just a couple of subjects. So we got senior portraits, sports, fashion, headshots, graduations, maternity. I could go on forever. I don't have enough room on this Google slide to show you every possible type of portraits that are out there. Artistic, black and white, surrealism, internal camera effects, fine art, abstract, practical effects. Practical effects are really cool because you don't need anything special. You don't have to understand technology as much as you really think you need to. With internal camera effects, you have to understand your camera more. But with practical effects, it's really about what you do outside the camera that matters more than inside the camera. All right, moving on. Lifestyle. These are things like family photographs, weddings, people being, being photographed doing everyday things. All right. Commercial photography. This is one of the better paying jobs in photography. It's basically photographing products or services and just billing them out. You could do anything from aerial photography to photographing cookies, donuts. Matter of fact, there was somebody who opened a donut shop here in Lincoln, and they put out a call for a photographer for product photography. I went and interviewed. Unfortunately, I didn't get the job, which is fine, because I'm not really a product photographer, but I thought I'd offer my services anyway. But the jobs are out there, okay? So fashion photography. This is one of the things that really kind of helped me start, because I started becoming a photographer during COVID times. In a couple days, when do you guys see Rachel Molaski? How long? So next week, you guys will see Rachel Molaski. Rachel Molaski is a costume maker, and she's hired me since COVID to photograph and catalog all of her costumes that she makes. She literally made everything you see on there, okay? Except for the fairy wings. Those were digitally put in there by me. I like to dabble in digital photography as well. Not digital, but digital manipulation, special effects. This lady's absolutely awesome. Her is Sass and Satin, if you want to follow her on Instagram. Behind the scenes for the Helms production, the film Let It End Here by Mike Helms. Mike is here today doing the film work for us. So here's some things I don't know exactly 100% where this is. He just gave me dropped the pin, and I drove to it and stood outside and try to stay behind the camera and photograph, when I say camera, his camera, and photograph behind the scenes of this movie that he's making. Hopefully it won't be too much longer so we get to see it, which I'm pretty excited about.
Documentation purposes, right? Like people, film crews or directors would hire a photographer to capture this.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys don't know, this is Mike right here. He's actually manning the camera. Here's a picture of his equipment, some stuff you see on the in the scene. Here's was this your assistant, right? Yeah. Yeah. So it's Erica, the assistant, some of the actors. This person right here, I don't think was acting at the time, but she was just kind of helping out. And then some people, standing by, waiting for instruction on how to do the scene, and then actual setting up for a scene. Really amazing, actually, watch Mike do his job. So if you guys, when he does his presentation in a few weeks, be sure to come and see it, because Mike is an amazing artist.
One thing, Robert, that's called production photography.
Production
Anybody
photography.
who's curious what that job is.
And so why would one need a production photographer?
I don't know if my camera's going to capture me saying this, but production photography, you want to use it for promotional purposes of your film or whatever project you're doing. You can even do it for art, It's just, for film itself, it's to allow the filmmakers and the producers to show potential audiences, film festivals, production studios, what's going on with your film, and to kind of hype up the process so that people are looking forward to what you're doing. So that's really it.
And am I on this slide, Robert?
Oh, you're not on the slide. Not for you. Yeah, I'm sorry.
As an artist, I know that I've hired Robert to come in and take professional headshots of me and in the studio for certain things that I wanted to apply for, such as grants, magazine opportunities, for book jacket covers. And so a lot of times, being in the art field, you will hire other artists to do work for you as well.
Very much so, very much so. So like I said, there's a million things I can put up here. Unfortunately, can't cover it all. And photography is more than just the camera. Can I begin to tell you that it's about you? It can be more than a hobby, a passion, a career. It's whatever you want it to be. All right. Here's just a couple of lists of things where you can actually find resources on how to become a photographer if it's something that you would like to do. If you are a photographer and you want to improve yourself, which you should always be striving to improve. And that probably goes with any type of artistic, or any type of career you decide to go in. You just don't want to become a bump on the log. You want to become more than what you are. That's what drives me, because I want to increase my value as a person within that career. All right. So our sketchbook activity is very, very simple. Okay, we've got a bunch of Magazines over here, and then you're going to get those magazines. You're also going to get some scissors and some glue sticks. And what you're going to do is you're going to go through and you're going to find a genre of photography that you will cut out of the magazine and paste it into your sketchbook. But here's the thing. First thing, you're going to pick the type of photography you want to do. I gave you guys a list of them. I can bring it back up in a couple of minutes just in case you want to look at it. But you need to title your sketchbook page, put the date on it, okay? Always put your date on it because it just lets you go back and say, okay, that's when I was thinking about that. 3 to 4 examples of the type of photography that interest you. And then down here, you guys can just write a little note of why it interests you. For example, I wrote that these images have fierce expressions, the poses are strong and confident, and each model undoubtedly rocks their outfit, okay? So it could be something simple. You don't have to use my words. Put it in your own words, okay? And you don't have to use complete sentences either. It's a sketchbook. I seriously doubt any English teacher is going to come by here and be like, hey, you didn't punctuate that properly, okay? And at the end of the presentation, they were tasked with going through some magazine articles or magazines and pulling out images that kind of appeal to them and the type of, or the genre of photography that they found to be most appealing. And so that was their goal, to start seeing photography in a new way, in a different way, and start seeing the similarities of different types of genres and the differences as well. It really gave them a hands-on approach of like taking the time, actually looking at an image, determining what that image was for, if maybe the photographer succeeded or not in provoking an emotion, and then they'd paste it into their sketchbook and explain why they chose that image.
She's mad at me because I had to cut it so it fit.
Down.